Hello, I'm Ken Robinson, and it's a great pleasure and honour to have been asked to say a few words of welcome and introduction to EdCamp Ukraine 2017. I know there are over 600 people expected to come to the camp, maybe more on the day, that you come from all over Ukraine and further afield as well, from across Europe, Asia and the Americas. I think it's a fantastic gathering, and it shows that there really is a collaborative movement for change internationally in education. Can I also say a few words of welcome to the Minister of Science and Education, who I know will be joining you at some point, and of course also to the First Lady, and a word of thanks to my publisher in Ukraine, which I have seen written down many times, but I've never heard anybody say the name, so I think it's pronounced Litopys or Litopys. You know, I don't speak Ukrainian, so I'm not sure. If somebody would like to send me a video with the correct pronunciation, I'll get it right next time. At any rate, my publishers are responsible for getting my latest book, Creative Schools, into Ukraine, and I know it's been widely discussed and debated, and I'm really thrilled about that. I just want to say a couple of words at the very beginning of your EdCamp in support of what it is you're doing. An awful lot of professional development around the world consists of, well, like people like me, frankly, getting up and speaking to large groups of teachers, other people getting up and running workshops. You know, there's some value in all of that. I'm not disparaging it. I don't think I've been doing the wrong thing or wasting my time. But great teaching and learning is always collaborative, and the more participatory any process of learning can be, the more effective it is. And that's the whole principle behind EdCamp. And by the way, I'm sure you know it, there are EdCamps happening all across the world, across America where I live now, but also in all the regions that are represented at this EdCamp in Ukraine. They're all based on the idea of self-directed learning, of people getting together and deciding for themselves what they want to find out about and to learn from each other in the excitement of collaboration. I think it's a really powerful model. It's one that is spreading, and it's spreading because it's powerful. But there's a message in it too. What works for teachers works for kids. People like to learn. People like to learn from each other. They like to collaborate. Learning is a very natural process, and it's driven by curiosity, by learning from other people, by investigating new horizons, by crossing boundaries. That's how it works. And I have been campaigning for a very long time in my own work for forms of educational practice that represent those principles. Not campaigning against teachers, by the way, campaigning on behalf of teachers and with teachers throughout my whole career in education, which stretches back now, I don't like to think about it actually, but it goes back to about 1972 when I started out on this whole field. Over this period, there have been lots of attempts by governments to impose improvements on schools through standardizing and testing. This has been a worldwide trend. It's certainly true in America, where I live now. It's true in the United Kingdom, where I come from originally. It's been true in many European countries, and of course in most Asian countries. It's cost billions of dollars. It's involved countless initiatives, and for the most part, it's not been very successful. It's not been very successful in raising standards very often in the areas where these initiatives have been focused, but it's also in many ways deteriorated a lot of the other values and priorities that are proper in schools. Holistic education, engaging the whole child. We've seen a deterioration in programs in the humanities in many school systems, in the arts, and also crucially, we've seen the erosion of teacher responsibility and professionalism, because teachers have been cast in the role of service agents for testing programs. Now, I'm not saying this is true where you're from, in the particular country that's represented. I'm saying that it has been a worldwide trend, and it hasn't been very successful. In fact, I'd go further and say in some ways it's been an absolute catastrophe. If you want more about that, Creative Schools has a good bit to say on the culture of testing and standardization and why it's not the right way to go. But what is the right way to go is what's happening at this camp over the next few days. You know, there are three main parts to education. There's the curriculum, which is what we want people to learn. There's teaching, which is how we help them to do it. And there's assessment, which is how we make some form of judgment about how they're getting on and what they've achieved. Many national policies for reform in education have focused on the curriculum and on assessment, on standardizing and testing. Ironically, the only thing, in my experience, I'm sure it's in yours too, the only thing that really helps to improve achievement in schools across the board is the quality of teaching. Teachers are the lifeblood of education, and they sit at the very center of organized programs of learning. You know, what we're all trying to do here is to help children learn, not just children, but people of all ages, help them learn about themselves, about the world inside them and the world around them. The curriculum is a way of organizing the things we hope they will learn, but the really critical part of it is the process of teaching, which facilitate learning. And teaching is much more, as you know, than direct instruction. Of course, it can include direct instruction, but it's more than that. Real teachers understand. I mean, when I say real teachers, I mean people who are passionate and full-blooded about teaching, who do this vocationally and understand how it works. Teachers know that they have several roles. One of them is to inspire children and students. If you can engage students, if you can fire up their imaginations, if you can kindle their curiosity, then they will want to learn, and they will learn, because learning is a very natural process. So inspiration and engagement is a big part of the teacher's role. Empowering students to go on and learn for themselves, to climb higher than their teachers have, to go on to areas that nobody could have predicted they might go on to achieve more than we could have anticipated. Empowerment is a very important part of education. And mentoring is a big part of it too. Helping individuals, guiding them through the challenges they face, helping them overcome the obstacles that they encounter, and advising them on how they may go in future, what their next turning might be. I know my life has been shaped in all kinds of ways by inspirational mentors. They probably didn't know they were inspiring me at the time. They probably didn't even realize they were mentoring me. But they did, and my life has been shaped by the teachers I've encountered, and you will shape the lives of all the children and young people that you encounter too. You can't improve education unless you also inspire, engage, and empower teachers. Teachers are also learners, properly conceived, and all the things that apply to great learning for students apply to great learning for teachers, and each inspires the other. Which is why EdCamp is so important. It's an opportunity to learn from people across the world, across Ukraine, and people in many different disciplines working with different age groups. It's a powerful process, and it's an important one. It's also important because it, as I say, points to a different sort of model of learning and teaching in schools. I'm convinced that the future has to be in greater personalization of education, of paying closer attention to the individual interests, the talents, the abilities, the circumstances of the students that we're dealing with. And it has to be customized to the communities that we are part of. That's what a global movement in education is about. It's not everybody doing the same, but it is about people operating on similar principles to achieve high results, high engagement in the circumstances they actually work in and with the students they work for. So I wanted to welcome you. I wanted to congratulate the organizers of EdCamp. I want to thank all of those who've been involved in putting this together, and to assure you that what you're doing is important for you. It's important in itself, but it has a much bigger significance. Collaboration now is becoming vitally important. You know, we all face very common challenges on this planet. There are rather a lot of us, and we are in now a situation where we face challenges we've never faced before. Sadly, in many countries, there is a movement towards more and more separatism, to serving only national interests. You know that. You don't need to talk more about it or to explain it. But I've no doubt that the future lies in a greater mutual understanding of the challenges that we all face and the need to promote forms of collaboration so we can meet them. And education is in the front line of the challenges that humanity faces, individually and collectively. And great teaching is at the heart of education. So welcome to EdCamp. If you get an opportunity to look at creative schools while you're there, I think you'll enjoy it. I hope so. I think it sets out these principles in a bit more detail and you might find them of interest. But whether you do or not, I wish you the very well for EdCamp and for all you're doing for yourselves, for your communities and for your children. Thank you.